All right, and we are live. We'll give you guys a little bit of time to jump in with this. My name is Donnell Cole. As you all know, it is Modern Manhood, a masterclass, and we love to highlight amazing people doing extraordinary things in the community. But this episode is going to be totally different because this is a part of our Father's Month. Father's Month project. This is our first community engagement project that we have done, highlighting Father's Day, and this has been so special to us. Especially me and Damon, as we discuss the importance of Father's Day, what it means to really show up, what it means to exemplify leadership and make a difference in our communities. And today, you guys, we have been talking about this all month. I'm a daddy's. What am I? We're daddy's girls. We both have all daughters. That's how nervous y'all got me. We both have all daughters. And so what we wanted to do is bring on some amazing women that we truly honor and adore that are self-proclaimed daddy's girls. And so ladies, first of all, thank you all for joining us and for making this special for us. Just that we greatly appreciate you all. And before we start, go ahead and introduce yourself so everyone gets to understanding who you are. Jamaica, you can start.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to put
Yes.
me on first. So, my name is Jamaica Lewis. I am coming live from Denver, Colorado, where I've lived for the past 5.5 years. I'm a native Oklahoman. I'm from Guthrie. In my day job, I am senior librarian at the Blair Caldwell African American Research Library. That's just one of my many hats. I am a historian, librarian. I'm an equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging consultant and trainer. I also own a flower business, Pinky and Paws Petals, named after my mom and dad. And I also have an organization called Give a Child a Library that gives free books to children all around the country. I'm super excited. I'm also a mom. My daughter just graduated high school like 2 weeks ago. Yay! Super
Let's hear it.
excited. So we're getting her started on her next steps in life. I'm so happy to talk about my daddy, James Lewis, who is still in Oklahoma, also from Guthrie. My dad has worked like my whole life. He retired recently. So if anyone deserved retirement, it was him.
That's awesome. Dope.
Yes, thank
Dope.
you. All right.
So, Grace, do you want to go?
Why not? Why not? I'm Grace Franklin. I'm from Oklahoma City. I am a in the daytime. I am a I work in insurance as a claim adjuster, a claim file owner. In the nighttime, no, I'm just playing. Uh, I'm also an artist. I'm a poet. I'm a director and a creator. I actually have a show coming up on Thursday at OK Contemporary. Yeah, I
Yes.
am. I am from Oklahoma City, born and raised on the east side, went to Millwood High School. I am very excited to talk about my daddy, my dad. His name is William Franklin. Um, the reason I wanted to do this is my father has transitioned, so he has passed away. That's the funniest picture ever. And in 2015, so I always jump on the chance to talk about him, because fathers are important and that needs to be said. And so I'm excited.
Okay, so Lakita's back in. Tell us who you are and tell us about your daddy.
My name is Lakeitha Dukes, and I am the baby of five. So I gotta be the daddy's girl because I'm the baby, right?
That's it.
um, my dad transitioned last year, and um, I come to the conclusion that I did the best that I could when I was growing up and in my adult years. So I'm not as sad about his transition because I did my part while he was here.
That's dope.
And that's pretty much it.
That's dope. There's a space in a lot of people, unfortunately, carry this guilt and this weight when they lose someone because they feel like they didn't make the most, out of that time with them. And to hear you say that that is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
That's really a space, and especially when we talk about daddies, like for us. So Donnell and I are both girl dads. You know, this space of seeing women like you all who revere your fathers and talk about your fathers, and then the juxtaposition of being in the Black community that says we are not here. It's like, how could we not want to highlight that and take some time to honor, the men who create the people that we are. And so, first, we want to say thank you and we honor you all for this and for honoring them. And we want to have a great time just sharing, the memories, the love, the lessons, and what that looks like as we celebrate Father's Month as a community. So, I have to ask, when it comes to your fathers, your dads, what was the craziest thing he has done that when you look back now as an adult and even as parents, some of you, what was the craziest thing they've done that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my dad. But now you look back and you're like, I get it.
That's a great question.
Oh, I'll give you one.
Let's go, Grace.
So my father was older. They had me like, I'm a baby too. So I have 2 older sisters and 2 older brothers. So I'm a baby. But as he got older, he got sicker, right? So there was a point where he had to be in a facility to rehabilitate. And I came in, and one of the Black nurses was like, "Girl, get your daddy." I was like, "My God, what is happening?" And so what happened was he needed assistance with bathing, and a white girl came in to help him do that. And he did a whole, "Yeah, not you." And the girl was like, "No, Mr. Franklin, I'm shamed. I'm full on shame getting this story." It's like, "No, Mr. Franklin, I can help you." He was like, listen. I was born at a time you even be in this room, get me killed, baby, because it can't be you. It got to be somebody else." And she was so apologetic, and she was crying, and she was upset, and I had to go find her and be like, "Listen, it wasn't you. It's just that it's just different times. He's not used to all this." He was like, and I asked him about it. I said, "Dad, why you do that?" And he was like, hey, it's plenty of beautiful sisters in here. I don't want her in here. He was like, "Hey, I'm from a different time. I'm from a time where this get you lynched." I was like, "Sir, ain't nobody gonna lynch you in this rehabilitation place. You done hurt this girl's feelings." And I was just like, "Lord have mercy, please."
He said, "I ain't doing it." My ancestors is watching right now. What I look like chilling out. I'm almost at the gates. Yeah.
Oh no.
Shame. Shame. Just in there apologizing all day. I'm sorry.
That's hilarious.
I'm sorry to you and you.
And you. I'm sorry.
Oh man. But it's those moments that like we, the space of having a good laugh with and about Black men is magical, because we appreciate those moments. We have to, because it ain't all too often that the world wants to let us have those. So thank you for that. Yeah. As crazy as it is. Jamaica, tell us about Pa.
Oh, my Paul, my goodness gracious. So my dad, well, I guess some background. So my parents were never married, and I'm also a baby of his. So I have an older sister, 2 other brothers from my daddy. And I found out, like as an adult, I found out about times where he wasn't allowed to see me, but he still like fought tooth and nail to make sure that he'd be able to see me, as much as possible. And so I went to Langston and was on full ride. I was a McCabe scholar and all that. And then I got pregnant with Karina, and telling him was like the hardest thing. I mean, I told my mom and she was disappointed, of course. But when I told my daddy, there was no look of disappointment on his face, like at all. He was just like, you gonna finish school? And I was like, yep. He was like, all right. And so I ended up, of course, graduating. I still graduated with full honors,
Let's
all
go.
of that. And I don't know how this happened, but somehow he got to like the first row at graduation of the stands. And as I'm walking across the stage, I see my daddy like doing a lightweight, like electric slide across the whole front of the stairs. I was like, oh my I was like, oh my God, daddy. But he was cutting a full rug at graduation. And I'm like, first of all, how did he get to the first row? Like, who let him up here? They don't know the box. That's my daddy's nickname is the box, jukebox.
The
He
box.
must not know the box because the box is gonna cut up if he gets a chance to cut up. And he did, like he did a full on like barnyard stomp chicken dance something across the whole front of like the stands at graduation. And I was just like, oh my
Yes.
God, daddy, seriously? And it was so funny because he came to Denver for my daughter's graduation and I was like sitting there like looking at him just waiting to see if he was gonna do the same thing. I was waiting for it, but we were on the first row, so it was too like we were kind of too close together. So I don't think he could stand up and cut a full rug. But he mentioned it. He was like, "Yeah, baby girl, I danced the whole jig at your graduation." I said, "Yes, daddy, I remember." And I thought to myself, I'm glad you did not embarrass Karina in the same way. But I mean, I understand he had raised me on his own from the time I was like 11. He had, a girl, just him and a daughter
Yeah.
to ourselves. So, to see somebody grow up from like young childhood to young womanhood to motherhood to finishing like a milestone like college, he deserved every step that he cut that day.
That's dope, man.
Right.
That's dope.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you for that. Latoya Rose, you with us? You with us?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby.
Welcome to the party. Welcome to the party. Listen, so
Awesome.
we took some time and we wanted all of you to introduce yourselves and your, what brought you here with us. So please take the floor.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here to talk about my daddy. I am who I am because of my daddy. I'm Latoya Rose. For people who don't know, I have many businesses, tax firm, publishing company, public speaking business. One of my greatest gifts and talents has been really like becoming a better mom, and a lot of that has been from my dad. So my dad, he's a retired post office worker, postman. Yep, and that's us on Greenwood on the picture. So he's also an entrepreneur. He's been a Bell's bondsman since the 70s, and so he also has the Bell Bondsman Company on Greenwood across the street from my tax.
Wow.
And so this is us in 2021 at the Centennial commemorative activities on Greenwood. But he's retired, former Air Force, just a really great person. Grew up 5 siblings. He's the middle child, but has always been driven. He always taught me about business and how, not to just trade your time for money for other people, but to figure out how to, do the things that you love and make money doing it and just creating just that freedom of time. So, I mean, I just really appreciate my daddy because no matter what, he's never given judgment. He's always been very supportive of the things that I have going on. And then as a grandfather, just watching him be a grandpa, the way that he was a daddy to me, like he's a 10x version grandpa. So like my daughter, she has this amazing papa who, is although older now. So he move a little slower, but still he's still accommodating. He's still just so sweet. And he just really has helped us to be more balanced, just between our masculine and feminine energy. So I think like having my daddy in my life has really help me be very driven, but also allows me at, when appropriate to be have that softer side of myself. So like I love being a daddy's girl, but a daddy's girl really all my life. I had to figure out how not to let my relationship with my daddy, overshadow my relationship with my mother, and just how that really works out. But yeah, like I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to hearing all the other ladies, their insights, as well as being a daddy's girl, because I think it's so important.
Interesting.
That is awesome. I'm hearing a theme already about, what strength looks like in fatherhood. Is there's spaces where several of you've already talked about coming to your father with in difficult moments, or with with news, and feeling like there was no judgment there, and that was different from other people in your life.
Man, that's exactly what I was thinking. Having the acceptance and the willingness to be able to embrace unfortunate situations where everybody might see you in a different light, but still coming in and being vulnerable enough to share that space. And I think that's one thing I value with my daughter. Like my daughter started dating, and she graduated high school, but I remember how guilty she felt about it. Like, oh my God, they're gonna be so upset, and she lied about it. But I remember her expressing the things that was so hard to get out, but being able to come to me. So whenever I started this, I wanted to understand what is the nature of being able to create a healthy relationship as you grow up, because I think that it does start when you're younger, and we see that in relationships when it comes to men and growing up. So can you share like how those interactions kind of helps you be able to develop that as you grow older?
Um, Growing up, my daddy didn't play. Like he was very, very strict. And watching him showed me that he don't play, but he also don't play about his kids. So
Mm.
it taught me to value myself more. Like you can't come at me any kind of way, because either I'm gonna tell my daddy, or he gonna
Yeah,
tell my daddy and he gonna handle it, or he's put enough in me to know how to handle each situation that arises. So
that's huge.
That is
So the
huge.
standards that he said helped you understand the nature of value.
yes.
That's huge.
You
And I
said
think
value yourself. That was really
Yeah.
huge. Say, yeah.
I would say also one of the securities of having your father is like what Lakeith is talking about. I remember being in school and I was cutting the fool. I wasn't cutting the fool. I said some things, okay, and I got in trouble. And the teacher. This is when people got swats. I don't know if y'all
Hmm.
remember that, but people used to get swats. And the person who was going to swat me was going to be a male teacher, and I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was like, can we please get my father on the phone, please? Can we please get my father on the phone?
Yeah.
And they called him, and my father talked to that teacher, and I didn't get swats. Now I did end up getting suspended a few days, but I was literally the can we call my father, please? When things felt when it felt
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this not right. I don't
Yeah.
I don't like this, and I don't like you all saying that a man is gonna swap me. Ain't no man gonna swap me. Like
Yeah.
we gonna talk to my daddy about
He was a
it,
protector.
and he's gonna handle that because you're not gonna
Yeah.
swap me. Because I don't. That's not. And that type of security when you're a girl, when you feel like you
Yeah.
always have somebody that's gonna have your back, even when
Mhm.
you may be questionably wrong in the situation.
Right.
But
Yeah.
always gonna love on you and take your side. That
Right.
that's invaluable.
It's huge.
I'm seeing a lot of head nods. Yeah, that's
You know what I think about women say when I would show my feminine side if a man would just do such and such, and I can see that now because when you're securing that and you have that safety, it makes it easier for you to be vulnerable like that because you know you're gonna have somebody in your corner. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But
And
that's
I
the
think
feminine
when
side.
when we say that, I think men misconstrue it, because like for us as daddy's girls, our fathers created spaces. They created
Hmm.
space and time for us to be able to just be. Like it
Hmm.
wasn't about being feminine, it was about being masculine, it was about just being.
Right.
I was allowed to just be Jamaica. And whether that was the brat that he says I am, which is not true, I'm not spoiled, daddy. Maybe a little bit, but yes, even at my big age of 39, I'm still spoiled. Yes. But whether it was the nerd who liked to play video games, whether it was the girl who stayed in her room and read romance novels, whether it was the girl who went out with her friends on the weekend, like I was just allowed to just be Jamaica. It didn't have to be Jamaica's being feminine today. Oh, Jamaica's being
Right.
masculine today. And so when we say that to men, like when we say, you know, if you just give us the space to just be, like we don't, maybe it's going to sound really bad, but I don't need you counting or keeping tally of my feminine moments or my
Right.
masculine moments, because that's going to look different to everybody. It's going to
Yeah.
look so different. And I never had to worry about that with my daddy. So why do I have to worry about that with you? Like,
Yeah.
can you just take the totality of who I am?
Absolutely.
Just as my dad gave me the space to do and help me develop into who I am.
That's perfect.
That's
Makes
good.
total sense. I think that the difficulty is showing up without an agenda. That's so difficult in relationships because we have expectations that shaped in a certain form or fashion, and that goes back to the opinions and beliefs and constructs. But with a father, we just like, look, as long as you're happy, I'm good. It doesn't matter, or how can I equip you to have a successful life in whatever capacity it looks like for you. So that's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a level of authenticity that we're looking from for a romantic partner. I'm not saying we're not looking for our daddies, because our daddies are, who they were, and they gave us what we needed and what we need in a different space. But we're looking for that authenticity. We're looking for that protective vibe. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for you to replace daddy, because you never will. You will never
Right.
replace the box, like ever.
Absolutely.
But give me that space to just be me, and you will get the best version of me possible.
That's beautiful.
Latoya, were you gonna say something?
I'm
Girl,
so
you know I
sorry.
ain't saying no,
Huh?
Oh, no, this is
no.
No,
perfect.
I
This is
just
perfect.
wanted, because I was gonna say something on the heel of that. I thought she was
Oh,
I'm
got
no,
gonna
stuff.
go ahead.
mute.
You're good. You good. I'm gonna let you. You
Oh,
got it.
okay.
You're great.
I think one of the things on the heels of Jamaica, one of the things with men is, when I went to college, my dad told me, he was like, here's the thing, you leaving my house, okay? He was like, you grown. I've raised you. You grown. Can't no man raise you. Can't no man teach you. Can't no man discipline you. You grown. And if he has a problem, you let him holler at me. And I'll talk to him and tell him I'm sorry about that. That's just how she is. but
Makes sense.
but but it's sorry. Geez, that's what happens. But I think in the same vein, we're not looking for
No,
father
Dad.
for guidance in that way. Like,
Right.
come on, man. I just need to be. I just need to be. Of course, I know how to do a lot of things, because the other thing that my father prepared me for is to be able to be independent and not
Yeah.
be able and not
Right.
depend on a man for everything. So I'm very capable of doing a lot of things. And a lot of things I don't want to do, I would appreciate it if you would do them. But
Yeah.
don't think I can't, or I need you to teach me certain. Man, look, let's just be, let's just love,
Yeah.
and let's just be. Let's not try
Man.
to grow each other from childhood. Let's try to grow together, right,
Absolutely.
as a unit.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Whew.
that's like, so there's this space where because and I love the psychology and the science of parenting and connections. And I was listening to this information the other day, and it talked about the difference between fathering and mothering, and how mothering is really heavy in the nurturing space and in the protecting space naturally, and fathering is oftentimes, it seems reckless. It oftentimes seems like we don't care, right? The kid wants to climb the tree, especially if the little girl wants to climb the tree. It's like, well, no, baby, you can't climb the tree. Mom's like, hold on, don't let her go up the tree. You can't, daddy. What you gonna do about it? And daddy goes, I'm gonna watch her climb the tree,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
and the space where fathers innately we kind of we want to see you go through the process of learning it, of struggling through it, maybe a little bit, of gaining some sense of how you get through
Confidence.
it and
Hmm.
building the confidence, even if it does come with a little risk. In that space, oftentimes, like because my daughter is 6, and man, sometimes she just want to climb the tree, and I'm let's go, let's go do it.
Straight up.
That space is such a beautiful place. I feel like I'm hearing you ladies talk about, like your father's letting you just be who you are in the moment. Like that's fellas, if y'all listening, that one's for y'all. That was a gem right there.
So I'll add to that. It's just like when you talked about the feminine and women saying that once you step up as a man, that my feminine can come out, and as our dads, like for me, my dad was very honest and authentic. He allowed me to bump my head, but he had a way of instilling lessons in me. He would do
Talk
that.
about that. How?
Well, he would always have a story.
Mm.
One, he would speak about his own experiences, things that mistakes he made, but then also ways that he would shift his perspective. I remember being in college, and it was in the beginning stages, like freshman year, when you get there and everybody has that moment. And I just remember him speaking to me and really giving me a strong story related to drugs and sex, and how, as a woman, staying in tune, to my sensuality, so that I wouldn't
Hmm.
allow anything to block that natural, like arousals and things. And I know you probably like, what, your daddy? It was the way he said it. He didn't say
Hmm.
it that straightforward, but that's what he was saying in his stories. He
Mm.
told me about a woman that he went to high school with, and how they graduated, and she got on in life, and she met this man, and basically she allowed her unhealed traumas to cause her to go man
Mm.
to man to man, and then one man got her on drugs, and how he would use the drug in order for the sex, and how it then reprogrammed her that I can't have sex unless I got this drug. And so
Right.
he would just share things to me. And at the times, sometimes it'd be like, ooh, that's a little heavy. But then as life would go on, you go back to those moments where your dad just had this random conversation with you, but
Yeah.
now you know what to do. Your my daddy, he had a way of just making sure I was fearless at all times. His thing was not to live life with limits, to
Mm.
try. Don't say you don't like a food and you've never tried it. Don't not do something because your mama didn't do it. That was the biggest thing with me and him, was, find your lane and find your rhythm, baby, and walk that thing. Walk your lane at the rhythm of your own drum. Do your thing. So dads, men, I always see men as the better parent anyway, because men are not really driven off of just emotion. You guys are also driven with logic, but most importantly, men, compared to women, like women, we're always trying to like see and be cautious, but you guys, like dads, they see, but then they also give you that space so that you can grow and learn, opposed to creating kind of like that suffocation. Not all, but
Hmm.
for the most part, you get that. So
Right.
that's what I appreciate with my dad, is he always allowed me to be fearless. He always allowed me to try things. He pushed me to, again, not being judgmental, but to just find my way. And that's important, because as we grow and we get into these relationships, now you're not looking for, that boyfriend or that man to complete you, because you have this dad who has given these things to you to strengthen you just as a woman, as a person in general.
Yeah. I can see how that can be really liberating in regards to not developing a sense of codependence, because when you're given that opportunity to fully discover yourself and figure out how rich you are and how much value you have, it makes it easier to be able to compliment no matter who you meet when that. So I can see that being crazy valuable. That's dope. And thanks for sharing that, Toya. That's huge, man.
When we talk about kind of like the biggest lessons we've learned, what is something that is seemingly simple that your dad taught you, that seems like for you because of having that relationship with him, is like it seems like it's like common sense to you, but in your experience, you're seeing that it ain't like that for everybody.
Mm.
Oh, I gotta chime in on this. So I've been thinking about this a lot because being away from my daddy for 5.5 years is just there's still an adjustment period there.
Yeah.
And then I lost my mom like a few months after I moved here.
Mm.
So it's like a lot, to adjust to. The one thing my dad always used to say, and I saw him model, my dad did not gossip. He did not gossip about people. I can't remember my daddy speaking ill of anybody. And he used to say, one day it'll be your turn, baby girl. So just remember that. One day it'll be your turn. One day it'll be your turn. And what he's saying is, you're going to have your turn at being the subject of something. You're going to have your turn at being the topic of conversation or the topic of controversy, or people are going to question your decisions and your motives and what you're doing. And they're going to talk bad about you. It comes with life. But he'll always tell me, don't pass that along. Don't do that to other people. And like going through my pregnancy and like life as a single mom, like I've experienced that in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And when I've seen other people go through a similar situation to what I went through, I showed them compassion. And these were sometimes people who did not show me that compassion when I was going through what I was going through. But my dad, I always remember him saying, one day it'll be your turn, baby girl. One day it'll be you. And so I try to be very intentional about not playing into who people are talking about or people in their social media drama. I stay away from that. I talked to my cousin about that earlier this morning. I'm just like, it's not my business. And it's not to say I don't care. And it's not to say that I'm not empathetic. And it's not to say, if I can help from Denver, I'm going to help from Denver. But that's not my business. And my dad was very much so into that. I'm telling y'all, I cannot remember him speaking ill of anybody.
Wow.
Ever. I just don't remember it. And even if he was in a situation where people were talking, he was either silent or he'd just be like, no, not my business. And I really take that to heart, especially as somebody who's been through a lot and has, gone through, I guess, some things that are controversial or whatever. And I just don't pass that malice alone. Like I don't pass that along to anybody else.
It's beautiful. That's small, but that's huge.
Uh-huh.
It leaves so much space to really understand and respect and honor his character, right? Because when we spend so much time and energy in trying to point fingers at other people or highlight other people's wrongdoings or issues, all it does is strip away from our own character. And like that value and that character that he's exemplified and then instilled in you and how you live is beautiful. Thank you for that. It brings a whole new meaning to kind of this controversial, strong but silent type, right? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Thanks for that, Jamaica. That's pretty dope. Lakeitha.
Oh, he used to always say, "Don't quit." And so,
You live that out, don't you?
boy. But the crazy thing is, as much as he said, "Don't quit," all my life was "Don't quit." Like, you got to figure out a way to make it happen. During his last days, he decided to come home to transition. And the whole time I was thinking, you quitting. Like, why are you quitting?
Wow.
But I never said it to him because I knew he was tired. But he kept going for so long that even when he quit, it was okay because I knew that he was tired.
Yeah.
But to keep going as long as he did, he was on dialysis. Within a year's time, they had cut off his leg. They put a trach in his throat. Like, he was going through a lot of stuff. So I could see him finally tired and ready to quit. I didn't want him to quit because that's the selfish part of us, you know.
Yeah.
But he came home. He told those people, I'm going home to die. If I'm going to die, I want to die at home with my family. 18 days later, he quit on me, but
Yeah.
he's still in my heart and he's still here. So I'm able to talk about him and be okay with it.
That's dope, man.
Yes.
That's dope.
I think one of the biggest things my father instilled in me was, I'm an artist, right? My father was a well-read man. He was also a professor, and so his thing was always, if you're gonna do art, which is fine, do your thing, but art is propaganda. So you need to be
Mm.
very clear about what you're saying and what you're talking about. So don't just be out here blue, 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 blue. Understand that your words are very powerful. What you create is very powerful, and be highly intentional about what you're doing. So any of my poetry, anything I'd read for him, like I remember my first piece of poetry I read for him, he was like, "That's fantastic. I don't understand the last three lines, but that was fantastic." Um, He's like, I don't know what that means. And so what he meant was for me to go back and make it clear what I meant,
Yeah.
to be clear in what your intention is, and understand the power of words, to understand when you speak, you talk. He would say this thing that I didn't. My father's hilarious. He would say, we didn't know if you could talk until you was 5. You didn't talk. It gets every year. It's 6, 7, whatever. Um, Evidently, I didn't talk much, and he said, but then you started talking and you never shut up. Like you just kept talking. One of the things that he also taught me is to be very intentional before you open your mouth.
Mm.
Be clear about what you're gonna say. Be clear, even if you're mad at somebody. Don't start speaking because you can't take things back when you go too far. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm sorry." "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry" does not cure everything once you've said venomous things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Keep your mouth off people in the same vein as Jamaica was saying. But as you present yourself in the world with your art, be intentional. Understand that you represent a long line of people. And I know some people think that's unfair, right? That as an artist, you should just be able to do what you want to do. Um, but what he planted in me is to understand that you speak for generations of people. You speak for women, for Black people, for Black men, for people who can't speak for themselves. So be
Yeah.
careful in what you present.
It's powerful. I heard this guy earlier today say, whenever you're speaking and you're raising a man, you're raising an individual. But he says, whenever you're raising a woman, you're raising nations because geniuses come from women. And that just exemplifies what you're saying. Even being cautious of understanding the nature of your gift and how you utilize it and the impact it can make and the lineages that come from it and what you represent. It's totally different. Be like, yo, it's one thing to have bars, but it's one thing to be Kendrick Lamar where you speak and shake the whole world. So that's powerful because he made you think of your gift in a higher esteem. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's a theme. Like, 'cause, I mean, we're sitting on this panel with you ladies who are in your communities, really, really, really building up, and like Grace, your activism, and Latoya, what you're doing out in Greenwood, and Jamaica, what you're doing in Black History, and really bringing forth that, and Lakeitha, really, really showing us what the beauty on the inside of all of us. We see that like permeating and
Powerful.
hearing you all attribute that to the lessons that you have from your fathers, like goosebumps right now. Thank you
I'm
for
gonna
that.
tell you what I really like too. It's not even the monetary thing. It's like soulful, rich, like things you can't really put a dollar on. It's really rich. It is the stuff that really makes love and compassion and hope and resilience.
Mm,
We don't often esteem this in the light. We hear about women dealing with a whole lot and carrying a whole lot and fighting through a whole lot. But when we talk about the upbringing where we come from and surviving, and you look at what you're creating and what you're doing for other people, it really does create a culture where we can thrive in. I mean, Lakeitha with 100x during the pandemic, bro. And a lot of you all did. That is it just shows you how important you are to the things that we truly do. We need you. You know.
Yeah. Thank you all for that. It's this space where, Donnell and I have really focused on building healthy families. Like, yes, our platform is modern manhood, and that's who we speak to largely. But we don't do that in isolation. We understand the power of building entire communities. So that means, we want this. This was really meaningful to us to have you all here and representing your families and representing yourselves as the amazingly powerful women that you are. Um, when we talk about that, tell us one of the moments in your life where you saw your daddy so proud of something that you did that it just like blew your mind.
Look at Jamaica. Everything I did in my life was on point, son. I'm A student, honorary, cum laude, what they say, I forgot what you call it.
Listen, my daddy is the first to like, love, share, comment on anything that I do. Like every news article. When he found out I had been on MSN and Yahoo News, he was like, "That's what I'm talking about, baby girl. That's my baby." Like I could just hear it. So yeah, he has always been like super supportive of everything. He likes, shares, comments on everything, like
That's dope.
everything. And it's just nuts. Like I just be like, I just want to make my daddy proud. Or he's the first person I call when I get good news about something. I'm like, Daddy, oh my God, guess what? And here I am at almost 40. And one of my primary goals in life is to make my daddy proud.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that is
I can
beautiful.
say I can say pretty much the same. Like when he was here, he was constantly telling me how proud he was of me, and the fashion shows were his highlight. He really, really liked the fashion shows, and after the show, he would be like, "I'm proud of you, baby girl," and it just would make me feel like, "Ooh, I can't wait to do something else so Daddy can be proud of me again." So it's been a lot different without him
Mhm.
um, there at the shows, but I know that he's there with me in spirit every time I'm winning, doing something that I know that I would normally call him.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just look up and be like, "I did it, Daddy," and I
Wow.
know he's still with me. So
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
when they're not here, it's a it's a strange, it's a really strange feeling.
Mm.
Um, like one of the things we ain't gonna do this. I see y'all getting teary. We ain't finna do
Yeah,
this.
man.
Um,
Oh man, I
one
wish
of
I
the
could
things
hug y'all right
that
now.
Yeah.
Oh.
so he would like I would be on TV doing activism and all of that and talking to cameras and stuff. And he would see an interview. Like one of the last things I remember, he saw an interview and he called me and he was like, he would call me Momo. He'd be like, Momo, I saw you on TV. You sounded good. You was looking good.
Yeah.
He said, you sounded good. You was looking good. You was talking that talk. I see you. Call me back. That's because he didn't do internet. He just called me and leave me crazy messages. And when I heard that, I started to cry because, you know, in the activism, in the art, in speaking in front of people, I always think about him. And I always, even when I'm talking to people, they can say, who knew my father? They'll say, I can hear your father. I can hear how you
Oh
talk
wow.
talks and how you move, how he moves. I can see it. And it is such a joy when you get that call or you get that like or you get I saw you, girl. You was doing it. You was doing it. It feels so different. And when they're not here, you know, so many things I would talk to him about, so many things that if I had a plan of something, if I wanted to do something, I would run that through him. And
Yeah.
without him being here, it's the strangest thing is that I can still hear his voice, even when I have a
Uh,
question. You understand what I'm
mhm.
saying, Lakeitha? You can still hear it. It's like
Yes.
if I'm in a stressful situation, I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I can
Oh,
clearly hear my father's voice say, wait a
mhm.
minute, think about it. You got it. All you got to
Mm,
do is this. Just calm down. I can hear
Oh
it,
yeah.
and
yes.
it's a blessing to have, man. It really is to know, um, even when they're gone,
Yeah.
even
But
you
they
know,
still
they still here. Like
Yeah.
even when I'm about to do something crazy, I can hear his voice. Now what? Wait a minute.
here. Now,
Wait.
wait a minute.
Now what you doing? Wait a minute. Like, oh no, wait, that's not. But it's a blessing to still have the voice, and it's hard. It's hard when you can't talk to them,
Yeah.
but it is a joy when you can laugh about so many things and just have your heart full.
Yes. Thank you for that. Um,
Hey.
I and I'm going to ask the flip side of that question, because tell us about a moment where you were so proud of your dad. Like you just like you were on that side of it, like that's my daddy right there. Tell us about moments
Mm.
like that.
I'll start. Because to the flip side of what we just talked about, my dad, although I'm a very high achieving person, my dad actually um, forced me to be more focused on self-care opposed to achievement. And he would
Mm.
instill this thing to be, he would say, Latoya, I want you to be a private success,
Mm,
not a public success and a private failure. Because the
Mm.
thing is every time, like, I would plan things, I would do things. And one thing about my dad is he wasn't always impressed with all of that. He wanted to see that I was well. And so as
That's
long as he
beautiful.
was seeing that, and he was seeing that I was restful, I was resting, I was um clearing my thought, he could tell when I was trying to over impress and overindulge, because those things would drain me on the private side.
Makes
His
sense.
biggest thing is be authentic and be true. And one thing about it, he had his jobs and had his business, and he's always been this great help in the community. But privately, my dad was proud of himself. My dad is very content and wise in what he does. But I was so proud of him when I figured out what he really likes to do, which is put on benefits. My dad has a very caring heart, and that's his biggest thing. Putting on events to raise money to help transform somebody else's life.
Mm.
And so, like, watching him put that on and lead his team and being a part of his team, and really being that go-to person and being able to work with him to get things done, like, that brings so much joy to me. And that's when I've been most proud of him, is when I see him operating fully in his gifts, because then for me that says, okay, he's also walking the walk that he's telling me about. You know what I mean? He's not just
mm,
telling me to do something that's impossible. So whenever I see him operating in that gift, I get really, really excited, because I know that if I could just stay consistent in doing the simple things, the little things the subtle things that I'm passionate about, I'll be more happy in life, opposed to being overwhelmed and trying to impress others. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking care of your emotional health. Seriously. It's dope, man.
that's big though, because just naturally we like to say that women are nurturers, and they build and they give so much of themselves, and being able to for him to instill in you how important it is that you're able to fill your cup and be whole and healthy so that you can justly give, and watching him do that, yeah, that's a lesson right there. Thank you for that. Wow, big. I'll tell you, on that side, like, we as fathers, there is nothing like seeing our babies and especially our girls proud of us. Y'all,
Facts.
y'all don't
Facts.
even know. Oh my God.
Listen, I got a daughter that lives in San Antonio. And it's crazy. I was just talking to my ex about this. She said, "Don't you know she Googled you? She Googled you." And so she calls me. She's like, "What are you, a motivational speaker or something like that? Like, I've seen you got a book." I'm like, "Yeah, baby." I'm like something like that. She's like, "I seen you on the news. It feels amazing." You know what I'm saying? And so it's dope. It's so dope. Like, my daughter brags about me to her friends.
We were. It's a yes, bro. Okay, so what? 2 days ago, they had the premiere of Seeds of Greenwood, and it was at the Dead Center Film Festival and in Scissortail Park Friday night, and I had the honor of being able to have some like my song being featured in the movie. It was the opening scene
Yeah.
to my song, and so we're all out at the park, and Wills is sitting right in front of me, and she's heard the song. She's made her friends listen to the song. She's 6. She's making her little 6-year-old friends listen to my old sappy guitar song, right? And we're sitting here, and she knows it's gonna play, but she doesn't know. So when the movie starts and the song starts to play, she shouts, "That's my daddy's song!" And like she jumps up out of the chair
Man.
and is like running around, like telling people who she does. That's my. Do you hear that? That's my daddy's song, and it like brought me to tears when she started singing the song. It just there's no other feeling. And so I'm gonna tell y'all, ladies, it goes both ways.
Man.
That
I had a real quick, because I think one of the other things that happens is as a little girl, my daddy was my daddy. Like, he with the community in the church, men would come over and talk to him and just ask for his advice. He was just that type of person, but he's just my dad. I think as I got older, I understood who he was to people, to the community. Because I'd be like, this is my daddy. They'd be like, oh, you Franklin's baby. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And they'd be like, oh, well, come over here. Well, let me talk to you about this. Tell your daddy. I said, tell your mama. I said, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I will. He's just my daddy. But remember when we had the whole desert storm and they shut Tinker down? Like you couldn't get on the base unless you had an ID. I didn't have my ID with me one time, and we had to get on the base. And I was like, "Oh, Dad, I don't have my ID. I can't get on." And he was like, "Don't worry about it." And I knew my father was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and he was a chief master sergeant. I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know what that meant for him as a Black man to do that at the time that he had. I didn't know. So I was like, Dad, we're gonna have to turn around. We can't get on this base. He's like, don't worry about it. And so the little young guy came up and said, let me see your ID. And he gave my dad gave him his ID, his military ID. I didn't have my ID. I said, I don't have my ID. And he looked at my dad and he said, can you vouch for it, Chief? And he was like, I'll vouch for it. And they let us on the base. Yeah. I was looking at him like, who are you? What is happening here? Like, what is going on? So, and he just kept smiling. He smiled the whole day because the whole day I was like, well, super secret agent, Mr. Franklin. But I was so proud. I was so amazed. I was like, oh, I guess you did have a whole life before. I guess you did accomplish things in life. Because I think we don't consider our parents as people, right? We just consider them as. But I was ecstatic. I was shocked. I was like, okay, and I felt proud, and he was proud, and that was a sweet moment.
Oh yeah,
that's dope, man.
I want, if it's okay to pop in. So my dad is a military veteran too. My dad was in the Army, and I didn't know that until I was grown. But I really feel led to say, I want everybody watching, listening, who's going to rewatch this, that my dad was never in the public eye. My dad has always been just chill. He's always been just the box. Like, he's fun to be around. He's fun, to hang with. But he was never one to just be out and about, just super, super community involved and all of that. Everything he's always done for the community, he did behind the scenes. And he never needed recognition for any of that. And so all my proud moments of him are for when he would stand up for himself. In his last job, he just was not respected. And he didn't want to retire. He didn't intend on retiring, but he just did not tolerate the disrespect. And he was like, I don't have to stay here for this. And, at his age and at a time of economic uncertainty and all of that, he still chose to walk away, respectfully, of course, but he still chose to walk away and not continue to tolerate mistreatment or disrespect. And he made sure to tell other people that they also did not have to tolerate mistreatment and disrespect. And so I really just want everybody to know that I love hearing stories of dads who are just out there and active and in the public and in the community and doing all of those things. But if your dad isn't one of those, it's okay. And he's still, by nature of who he is and by nature of who he raised you to be, he's still worthy of that respect and that honor, and of you being proud of him, even if it's not things that he's doing in the public eye.
And I think that's a really important point to make as well, because a lot of times we think that if dad is not in the public eye, he hasn't been on the news, he doesn't have a high position, then him being in the home, that means nothing. Him, being involved in your life means nothing. And I'm glad that you said that, because my dad did benefits, but he didn't start doing benefits until his 50s, until he was in his 50s. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Before then, he was just a bail bondsman. He was, he was just that guy that she's describing. And later on in his life, it got bigger. You know what I mean? But that's so important, because if we would just celebrate the subtle acts, it just takes a little bit. If we would just empower that, we would go so much further.
I like that.
Yeah.
And men have to know that, the fact that, like for you, like you said, he was there for you. He was there for people when they needed him. It's not about the recognition. It's not about the trophies. And that was the biggest thing with the whole be a private success, not a public success and a private failure. You know what I'm saying? So recognizing that our dads, they're doing the best they can do, but they're doing something, which is great.
Yeah, that validation is kind of important, especially in the times when you feel like you have to overcompensate because of lack thereof. I know me and Damon both talk about that, not having fathers and feeling like we have to overwork just to make sure we're being impressionable enough. Even listening to the stories of feeling that when the fathers aren't there physically as they pass on, just making sure you're being that much more intentional with the love. Make sure you're showing up with your examples. Make sure your life is an actual experience of the things that you're trying to teach and instill in your kids.
Yeah. And just like Latoya Rose, I think it's amazing that your dad does benefits, and that helps so many people. Like, I think that's wonderful.
Facts.
And just like you're proud of him for that, I'm proud that my daddy can grow anything. He has the most beautiful garden, like, ever. I could never. I'm a whole florist and can't grow anything.
We're gonna need them green thumb classes.
I don't have it. I just don't have it in me. But like his garden, and then him and his friends, they have this garden where anybody can come and get food, like, and pick greens and have cabbage and all that stuff. I'm proud of him when he goes hunting and he nails a buck that he been trailing, like, or he got some big gigantic fish. Like, I'm not a fisher person. I don't know. All I know is I see the pictures of him with coolers full of fish, and he's cheesing as all get out. And I show those pictures off to my friends up here. Like, look what my daddy got this weekend, or look at my daddy's garden, or, look, he took one of the younger nephews fishing. I mean, it doesn't, like, to Damon and Donnell, it doesn't have to be these big public things, to make your daughters proud. Like, they're already proud of you just by who you are. And they're proud of you that you took them bike riding, or that you tried something new, or that, you tried a new fish, you tried something different, that makes them proud. It doesn't, and of course the stuff y'all are doing is dope. I'm not diminishing that by any way, shape, or form or fashion. But they are proud of you for everyday moments. And there's going to be a whole lot more of those than the stuff that's in the public.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate that.
And sometimes that makes our mamas cringe when we give y'all like all that love.
know, like
sitting there like, how that impress you? But it does.
And it's I think people forget it, like on this, in the same vein, it's the little things. It really is. My best memories with my father is the times that we spent by ourselves. So my parents were married, and my mother was gone on Saturdays because she was active in the community. So in the morning, when she would be there, it would be weird. Like, what you doing here? Daddy finna make like Daddy finna make some pancakes. What is you doing? And those times with him, and I would just be with him all day. Like, just we would go to the hardware store. Like, if he was doing the lawnmower, I'd sit out there and fix it with him, and he showed me how, and teaching me how to drive when I'm 11 out of nowhere. It was just one day we were out in the country, and he was like, all right, you need to know how to drive. I was like, word up, let's do it. So those things. And what happens is when you get out into the world and you meet other women, what you learn is that your father's special. Because what you learn is everybody didn't have it.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't know what you're talking about. It's like, even when you meet other daddy's girls, you be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because everybody doesn't know what that is, which even makes you more proud of your own father. Because it's like, oh, but I did have it. I'm sorry you didn't, but I did. It was good.
Man, we treasure on these streets, Damon. Yesterday's price, today's price.
Listen, take it from, I'm a single mom, and I don't mean co-parent. I mean, my daughter's father has never met her, never seen her. He opted out in 2004. He was like, "No, I'm good." So having a dad who is active and present can be difficult at times, because I see how she looks at us.
Yeah.
There's a space like
Hey,
my grandfather. Listen,
It's okay, Mama.
man,
It's
yeah, we
okay.
heard. Thank you, Mama. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that speaks to this space where we absolutely have to honor those fathers who have been fathers for generations. Like my grandfather, my grandfather, like I didn't grow up with my father in my life, but my grandfather was a father to 3 generations holding. And like, even coming back to Oklahoma City, for me recently, part of that has been to honor him, right? And so I want to shout out the grandfathers and the fathers who are fathers to their children and their children's children and their children's children. And that's something that I'm seeing, even you all talk about how that's such a wonderful experience with your own fathers, is seeing them with their grandchildren.
Yeah.
Like,
and I would say not only just their grandchildren or just their children, raising and helping raise other people's kids, like our
Right. The community.
friends that would come over that didn't have a daddy, and daddy filling in for all of my girlfriends that daddy's not around. It's like, yep, that's your daddy too. I'll share him with you.
Yep, that's the other thing. You got to share your daddy. My dad drives buses and takes these young boys around and mentors them. But then I got all these little, and I tell them, listen, at your service, it's only 3 people that's sitting at the front row. But it's only 2 daddy's girls. And I'm more daddy's girl than my sister, but like, don't. But yeah, they do. Man, you guys are so needed, because there's so many people that don't get that. It's so many adults that just need a father's love, that guidance, just that genuine care. So simple.
Yes. So as we wrap up, I want you all each to tell us, because we want you guys to talk to the fellas and talk to the fathers and talk to the young men like ourselves who you all are on the other end of that space of having your fathers be in your lives and raise, and you're phenomenal women. What advice can you give young fathers? I got a 6-year-old. Donnell has his daughters are a little older, but what can you tell us about making sure what we can do so that our daughters talk about us the way you talk to your fathers?
Yes.
what are your words to the community in this as we wrap up?
I like this, Damon. Good work. Grace, you want to start?
I'll start. Why not?
Hold on. Apparently for
Um,
Jamaica, we got to learn how to dance front row. So we got to practice the box, and we got to have. Listen,
That's it.
I don't know about the great thumb, bro. The last gift that I got was a cactus. He said this is indestructible. That thing died like a week later. I said, hey, yo, listen, I think this ain't the right thing, bro.
I would say to fathers, two things I would say. One is talk to your daughters about everything. Talk to them about men. Talk to them about sex. Talk to them about two pieces of advice that I still carry with me today about men from my father is you never get involved with a man who doesn't take care of his children. Because if he doesn't take care of his children, he's not going to take care of yours. So you next year, because that's a display of character. You always a man takes care of his children. And if he doesn't, he's not going to take care of you or your children. And I have kept that to my heart forever. Also is one thing that he told me about sex. And I know it's weird for people when you say your daddy talked to you about sex, right? But one thing he would say is, if you ever feel uncomfortable, you leave.
I like that.
If something don't feel right, if he says something that you don't like, if he grabs you, she pulls you, you just try to roll out of there, roll on out of there. He will say that and go. It was understood. My father made it clear that every man wasn't him, and that there are some men who are wounded in ways that can hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So always take care of yourself and watch them. The other thing I would say for young fathers, for those who maybe dropped off the scene and ain't been back, go ahead and try to come back. Daughters have big hearts. We can forgive a lot of things.
That's good.
And if
even
if they've been 5 and you haven't seen them, and now they're 15 and now you see them on the internet and you're looking at them like, ooh, she looked like me and I want to say something, say something. Now listen, you might get cussed out, but say something again, because there's going to be pain. There's going to be pain. But keep coming back. Be consistent. And you can still have that relationship with your daughter. She'll forgive you if you can come back and be consistent. You have
Thanks
to.
for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. I think as we reflect on just fatherhood and looking at all aspects of it, that's been something that's been really difficult to fight through. I used to mentor inmates that's been incarcerated. And there was one guy that was incarcerated about 20 years, and he was like, "Man, I just don't know how I'm gonna rebuild this." I'm like, "Bro, write a letter. Write a letter. Show up when you can. Fight as much as you can. There's gonna be doubt. There's gonna be a lot, and you got to rebuild. And first, you got to rebuild yourself before you can repair this relationship." But I'm like, I'd rather you had fought and tried than have all the way at the end of your journey and had that regret, wondering what if you did and didn't take action. I'd rather you face the rejection and know at least you tried than to say, you know what, forget it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So thanks for sharing that, Grace. That's real.
Thank you.
I'll add to it and say, be open and don't be afraid to talk to your girls about any and everything. Growing up, I really didn't talk to my dad about a lot of stuff because he was so strict. So I was out sneaking around. But I know it was because I thought he was going to turn my tail up in most cases. And some of the stuff I was doing, he would have tore me up. But I think if he wouldn't have been so strict, I would have opened up more. I would have told him a lot more that was going on in my life. I told him things, but he pulled a belt out and turned my tail up. So I was a little bit like, I ain't gonna tell him that. But I will say to daddies, don't be so strict on your girls that they're scared of you.
Yeah.
Be able to talk to them, or they'll tell you anything and not be afraid of what's going to happen from what they tell you.
Absolutely.
That's big. Thank you
Man,
for
it feels good too. I told my daughter, look, hurt my feelings.
that.
I'd rather you hurt my feelings than dishonor yourself by not communicating what's important to you.
Hmm.
I want you to have so much value in yourself that you feel worthy. At least it came out, than you feeling suffocated because you can't be who you are through and through.
Hmm. And giving, giving them space to build that trust that they can come to us, because if they
Hmm.
never have the opportunity to do so, then that's not the relationship you're going to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's.
Whew,
Yeah, I
Angel,
would.
Angel dropping gems. Let's go, Angel.
Mhm.
I would say don't always give a directive without giving direction. A lot of times daddies tend to just give orders and, well, you're going to do it because I said so, or it's because this is how it is. When you actually give direction, and I've heard people say, well, I'm the parent, I'm not going to explain anything.
Mm-hmm.
My daddy was not really like that. If he told me to do something, there was usually, I'm not saying it was a paragraph long explanation, but there was reasoning behind what he was telling me to do. And
Mhm.
so as an adult, I learned, like, even working in management, I don't give my staff a directive without giving them directions. And what ends up happening is that there's a trust there,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to do what's in the best interest of all of us. And so I think I learned that from my daddy. He would tell me to do certain things, but there was always usually a reasoning behind it. But if you're just giving directives, you're just giving orders, just telling what to do, that doesn't give the space for communication or transparency or trust. So make sure that, if you're wanting your girls to go in a certain direction, or and this within her consent, like, y'all collaborate on her life. You don't lord over her.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you're explaining the whys. Like, don't give into this toxic parenting of not explaining the whys behind things. Because when you do that, you're allowing them to form their own decisions and form their own personalities. And you're teaching them how to guide themselves and how to make informed decisions about their own lives.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you. That is
Yeah,
beautiful.
navigate that critical thinking in your own sense of independency for yourself. I
That's
like
it.
it.
Latoya Rose, tell us
Y'all
your.
um I'm gonna just definitely agree. Honesty, transparency, it goes a long way with daddy's girls. My dad was very, very, very honest with me. Out the blue, he was honest. Just in everything he did, he was honest. That was always great. My daddy was not a materialistic dad, so I was not the daddy's girl that just could get anything I wanted material wise. However, he would instill, that work ethic or that partnership. So if it's something that was a large purchase, it'd be like, okay, well, I'll go half in on you, but that was him instilling finances and work
Yeah.
within me. The biggest thing too, I would say to especially younger dads, but all dads, you may mess up, you may make a mistake, something may not go the way you want it, don't retreat. Don't take that out on daddy, on the girl. Like, don't take that out on the
Yeah.
kids. Just keep coming back, keep stepping up and operating in what you do. Um, because really all it is we just, a lot of times we enjoy that time, that connection that we have with our dads. Um, and the last thing would be for dads to heal, to do their counseling and to do their inner work, just to get some of that, get some of that rooted trauma, eliminate that, because that also helps us. Because a lot of times some of the things that we're experiencing is the karma from our dads and our parents.
Yeah.
So if dad can heal and forgive himself and get through those things, that'd be really, really helpful.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Whew, I'm full, man. That was
Right,
amazing. That was
right.
so amazing. I'm so grateful. I so appreciative too. That was powerful. Absolutely powerful.
Ladies, we want to honor you and honor your fathers and your families and your legacies. Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with us, and but sharing in the laughs and the joy and the lessons. Man, this is like one of my favorite episodes, because there's so much here that speaks to how we build communities and how we build relationships and how we build ourselves and our families through that. So we honor you and we thank you for that, and thank you for coming to the table with us as we celebrate Father's Month. This is a big thing for us, and this event and this moment of sitting with you all and sharing, your journeys is something that Donnell and I have been looking forward to for a long time. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it
Thank
just
you.
makes us really see the value and the importance of showing up in a way that's necessary. So I appreciate it. We know fathers, sometimes we take it like, yeah, we got kids. It is. We just showing up. We pay bills and we just here. We just like we do it. But when you hear your story like 30 years, like I just told Damon, I was like, bro, 30 years from now, this is gonna be our kids, right? And I
Mhm.
love the fact that I'm grateful I got an amazing wife. I have an amazing wife. She's powerful, but I'm grateful to be surrounded around women that are powerful. It's a blessing. It has been a blessing to my life. I'm grateful for my mother. Even growing up, I'll be like, I had like half a dad, but I had like 7.5 moms that was always over me and that was always like, speaking life over me and letting me know just the brains that I had and that I possessed. And even when I fell short, they also spoke so much love that sometimes I'm just like, bro, who are they talking about? I got to figure out who this is for them. So to hear the stories that you all are telling, it makes me really want to be more intentional about making sure I'm showing up in a way that lets them know that, yo, if a problem goes wrong, I want to be like, my dad would be like, Grace, yo, let me call my dad. I want that. You know what I'm saying, for my kids.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
so we appreciate that. Thank you for even doing that for us, because that let us know, like, yo, we want you to. You're giving us something that we can emulate, and without that example, sometimes we're going on blind faith.
Yeah, thank you for that. Can we take a minute to share what else we got coming up?
Let's
Because
go,
it's
baby.
Father's Month. Our next event, our next event is Donut Friday.
So listen, you guys, if you ain't been catching the episodes we've been having, my man General Pratcher, shout out to General Pratcher, Facial and Face, as well as Kenyetta and Courtney at Bell's Books and Boutique. About 12 years ago, my guy was looking for an intimate way to build a great relationship with his kids. And he says, what better way to do it than donuts? So every single Friday for about 12 years or so, my man has been going to have donuts with his kids at 8 a.m. On Fridays. And he's writing a book about it. And I said, man, what better way to celebrate fatherhood for us to join them on this Friday. We're going to be here at Bill's Books and Boutique at 8 a.m. giving out donuts, juice, and some books. So register. It's free. Manhoodmasterclass.com. Come out and join us as we celebrate fatherhood by providing donuts, juices, and books. It's going to be dope.
It's going to be a great time, and all families are welcome. This is not this is not a don't show up if you're not a father. If bring your family out and enjoy what it looks like to build healthy and happy families. So we're really excited
Absolutely.
about that. And then, of course, Father's Day is June 19th. So we're going to chill out and let the earth gain a couple of degrees, because every grill in the world is going to be firing, because it's also
Sheesh.
Juneteenth. So we're going to roll with that. And then we have our Daddy's Day in the Park. This is our big shindig as we want to bring communities and families together. And we're also going to have a barbecue contest where we're letting the people. This is the People's Choice Barbecue Contest, where when you guys come out, you get to sample all of the barbecue vendors there with a judge's ticket and be able to vote for who has the best barbecue, so they can win a cash prize and a big trophy. So we're excited about showing some love to local businesses, while also having the bounce house and the splash pad and the DJ and the tug of war and the hula hoops and all the fun family stuff that we're going to have at the event. We're giving away giveaways, and we're giving away gift cards,
Scholarships.
scholarships. Families in Oklahoma City on Saturday, June 25th, come out to the park and let's celebrate happy and healthy families as we are going to celebrate our Daddy Day in the park. And finally, we're going to have our Fatherhood Roundtable. This is going to be the guys are going to come to the table just like we just did with the ladies and really talk about the experience. So we have a dynamic panel of men of all walks of life and experiences in fatherhood. And we are going to finish out the month by just really reflecting and on what it looks like to be fathers and to build the communities we want our children and our families to thrive in. So we're really excited about everything that's been happening with Father's Month. So if you haven't, go online at our website, manhoodmasterclass.com, and register for our events. They're all free so that we can build, again, the communities we say we want our families to thrive in.
Those are some good events, gentlemen. Just want to throw that out there. That looks good. I'm going to get
Thanks,
a donut.
Grace.
And my
Thanks,
father,
Grace.
and I'm still going. I'm a hug on fathers and be like,
Come
thank
on.
Hey, we appreciate that.
We
Straight up.
do. We do.
Well, thanks for making it special because you see your names was on their conversation with the daddy's girl. We've been talking about this for a long time. In fact, when I told Damon, I asked Grace, I said, hey, Grace, so are you a daddy's girl? Bro, she almost cried. I was like, okay, we got to get you on the panel. We got to get you on the panel. And she said yes. So thank you. Thank you for saying yes. There's a lot of opportunities and activities that we think of, and we don't always get to manifest them or usher them in the way that we see ideal. But the fact that you've been saying yes, and you've all supported us in this, so we greatly appreciate you because of your support, we've been able to do things like this. So we don't
Yes.
take it lightly. Lakeitha, you sponsored our events. Jamaica, you showed up. Latoya, so thank you for being a part of it. You know, it's a big deal to us.
Thank y'all.
Thank
Absolutely.
y'all for having us and giving us this space. And sorry to be the resident crybaby. I knew it was going to happen when Grace
First of
sent the
all, we knew it was
message.
gonna happen.
We knew it.
We love you.
I
We
knew
love
it was
you.
Crybaby is like,
And I was like, okay, if Grace gets it popping with the tears, then I'm going to follow up. But he
I think you did a great job. We held
Grace, you
on.
made it.
We held on.
Grace, you made it.
I knew it.
Woo. We made it, y'all. Thank you so much.
We
To
do.
everyone out there who's watching this broadcast live, thank you. We appreciate your support. Angela, listen, Angel, I'm sorry. Angel, thank you so much. She's dropping some gems in there. We
Yes, she
appreciate
was.
you. Everyone who's watching this and who's watching this recording, share this. Listen, our fathers need to know
Yeah.
we out here, right?
Yeah.
And our mothers need to know that there's some love out here for
Yeah,
everybody.
man.
And our
Yeah.
children, more than anybody, need to know that we're here for them. And I don't just mean our daughters, but I mean all of our children.
Yeah.
All right? And our whole
Yeah.
community. So please, we appreciate you. We thank you. And we can't wait for the next time to show some love and share some love in our family. So from Modern Manhood, we say thank you.
Peace.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank y'all.